currently at 140 bus drivers, 130 CDL drivers, and then we have 8 sitting sub drivers that don't have routes. They come in every morning, and they're the drivers that basically wait and see who's calling off. Buses that aren't starting, that are far out in the district, we've got them ready to go, so that in the hopes that none of those students are having to wait extra in the mornings to get to school. So we have 10 DOE drivers. Those drivers do not need CDL. There is some standards that they have to meet, but it's a lot easier process than getting a CDL. And those drivers are the ones driving our small Type A buses. So traditionally, they're picking up 5 to 10 students to go to a school, but a lot of those students that they're transporting don't live within the district or inter-school district that they reside in. So having those DOE buses is a great attribute for those students that need those routes. We have 24 bus aides. This is something that we definitely strive to add to our fleet, just because we're transporting over 10,000 students, and a lot of these an hour or more at a time. And especially at the elementary and the middle school level, if they're on the bus that long in the afternoons, it's like recess, and kids will do things that kids do if the adults are not eyes on them at all times. So we've got all of our RS bus routes that have wheelchair students on them. We've got a bus aid on there. Obviously, in the case of an accident, you want that student to be able to get off that bus as soon as possible. So having that second adult on there to make sure that they can unlock them from their safety restraints, activate the wheelchair lift to get them off the bus as soon as possible is obviously a priority. So all of our related service bus routes that have wheelchair students on there have a bus aid. The remainder of our bus aids, we tried targeting those to our high number elementary routes. The more elementary kids, you can fit 3 elementary age kids on a bus or in a seat. I mean, 78 elementary age kids could be packed in a bus. And if you got a driver and some of those kids are on the bus for an hour, bad things could happen. So we do our best to get a bus aid on those buses. The bright point in that, and it shows that it's working, and so hopefully we can continue to hire bus aids. Mayflower and then Southwestern and Mentani routes. Those are 2 schools that we had a number of bus discipline issues on those routes over the last few years. We placed bus aids on many of those routes, and the numbers for both of those schools as of right now, the bus discipline referrals are way down, which means those students can ride the bus and get to school and learn. So obviously, because if they are not riding that bus for a day because they were not following the rules, in many homes get to school. So that's a priority of ours, and I'll talk about one of the initiatives in reducing our bus discipline and what that's meant to the district. In terms of our ridership, right now we're at 10,500 students routed to gen ed routes. 14 students have been routed since August 12th. So just because the school year starts doesn't mean our 2 routing specialists are sitting there, playing. They are actively routing students. So 1,400 of those students on gen ed side have been routed since August 12th, and we've had 282 of our 567 related service students have been routed since August 12th. And those numbers will continue to go up as the year goes along. So this is my 3rd time speaking in front of you guys, and I'm not sure if you know all of the staff in my office that makes everything work as smoothly as possible. It's organized chaos, but I can't do it with the staff that I have, or without the staff I have. So our 2 operations managers, Scott McCoy, this is his 6th year as an operation manager, and then Dave Emhoff. So we split them into a north side operations manager and a south side. Now, some of you may be looking at the numbers there, and those don't match up, right? 8 north side schools and 11 south side. So in transportation, we do it logistically. We break that up based on State Road 26 is the meridian for Tippecanoe County. So all of the north end schools are those are under Scott McCoy. All the ones south of 26 fall under Dave Emhoff. And we do that, again, logistically, but also it evens out the number of students we transport, because traditionally the north end schools feeding into Harrison, there's more students. So Wyandotte Elementary School, because it's south of 26, that is a south side school, and at least in transportation. So some of their responsibilities, they supervise and evaluate all of the drivers and bus aides. They oversee the bus discipline. They're the point of contact for the schools. If administrators are having issues, they know which operation manager to get a hold of and hopefully resolve that issue. They also dispatch to any bus accident scenes as quickly as possible to ensure the safety of the driver and the students if students are on board. And then they work with the first responders if needed as well. And then one of the last things they do, this is always going on in Tippecanoe County because we constantly have construction going on, especially on the north end. Morehouse Road has kind of been a nightmare for us, but they proactively troubleshoot all those impending road closures so they can start to reroute before we actually need to do it, so we can notify parents of what those times are going to be for those students that are impacted. So great help to me in managing the transportation department. Our two routing specialists, Tim Plant, this is his first year. He is our Gen Ed routing specialist, and he has routed 450 Gen Ed routes. So those are AM and PM for all 19 schools, but that also includes a lot of the things that many people don't realize that we transport for. So all of our GLCA classes, and then right now we're getting into the clinical season for the GLCA. So we've got buses shuttling over to the GLCA nonstop throughout the day. And then our work program students from McCutcheon and Harrison that we're transporting those students to work or to home. So 450 Gen Ed routes that he's in charge of. And then Joy Gorange is our related service routing specialist, and she currently has 220 related service routes that she is in charge of and constantly modifying as students get added or taken away. Fleet manager, Jim Nemechek. This is, I think, Jim's 4th year as the fleet manager, but he's got a history in the automotive industry, and he's great at what he does. We currently have 224 total vehicles, 185 buses, and then he's in charge of 8 mechanics, so we're fully staffed in the garage, which is great. And then he's got 2 mechanic helpers that help those mechanics with the day-to-day operations in the bus garage. Jim manages the fleet vehicle maintenance schedule. He works with the insurance company on bus damages and claims, and then he's in charge of getting the best pricing possible for our fuel, which we spend a lot on, obviously, and then he handles the inspection process, as well as works with our vendors on bus pricing, which is constantly going up, but he does his best to get the best price for us. Melissa Dykhusen, she's been a bus driver for TSC for, I'm going to say, close to 20 years. But this is her 2nd year as our bus trainer, and she's done a phenomenal job. She's trained 9 new bus drivers since June. And then along with training the new bus drivers, she schedules our yearly ASM training. That's annual safety meeting. In the state of Indiana, every bus driver, in order to maintain their yellow card on top of their CDL, they've got to do this annual safety meeting before December 31st. And right now, she just completed our very last one. So all of our drivers, have their yellow cards renewed for the next year already. So that's great. And then our secretaries, these are the ladies that really run the ship at our office and makes things run pretty smoothly. Carissa Douglas is our operations and fleet secretary. She handles all the bus conduct reports. So when those bus discipline referrals are entered by our drivers and taken to our operations managers, she's the one that contacts the parents and sends out those bus discipline reports to the parents so that they know what it is that their child did on the bus the previous day. And then drug testing is another one. We have our random drug test 4 times a year that is required by the state, and that's a pretty big operation to handle. So she works with DISA and the FMCSA to make sure that we're abiding by all the laws in the state of Indiana. Tanya Wilson is our trips coordinator. In 2024-25, we had 1,500 trips between field trips and athletic trips. And so far this year, we've already had 600, but by the end of December, we'll probably reach 1,000. So we're on pace to probably break that 1,500 because springtime comes around, we've got the most sports that are needing transportation for, and that's typically, once we get back from spring break, that's when all the schools are doing a lot of their spring field trips. So she's done a great job with that because it is a tall task. And then Lisa Headley is my secretary. She handles payroll, purchase orders, invoicing, and then she is the one that kind of meets with, once they're hired on, she meets with our new employees to get their Red Rover and UKG up and running and make sure that they're ready to go for their first day. So one of the 3 initiatives that we started for this year, again, I've kind of touched on it, reducing the bus discipline referrals. Because we understand that a lot of the students that have had the highest discipline issues on the buses are also students that we know that if they have a day or 2 days or 3 days off the bus, chances are they're not going to school. They don't have alternative transportation. So that was pretty big. In 2021, 22, we had 1,719 total bus referrals. Last year, we ended with 1,164. So the goal this year is to hopefully have less than 1,000, and we're well on our way to that. But again, a big reason why our bus discipline referrals are down is because we've hired 6 new bus aides this year, and we strategically placed those on routes that traditionally had the highest bus discipline issues. So like I said, Mayflower is a big example of that. And one of the things we also want to do, and Kelly Gaybauer has helped me kind of get this started, is we offer TCI training to all of our bus aides and bus drivers in the summertime. And obviously they altered that a little bit to cater towards what it's like to deal with a difficult student on a bus versus in a classroom. And our drivers and monitors definitely appreciate that. So right now we're on pace to be down 60 from this time last school year. So so far we think that's working. We'll continue to hopefully improve on that. Obviously the goal is not to have to kick any student off a bus, but the reality is it's going to happen. But if we can continue to reduce that, that's what we're. All right, bus accidents. This is another major one. The first 2 years that I've been here, I feel like I was cursed a little bit with some major accidents. Those things happen, but trying to implement ways that we can avoid that at all cost. So last year we had a total of 27 bus accidents. That could be anything from backing up over a mailbox to any sort of accident on the road with a pedestrian vehicle. So this year so far we've only had 8. And none of those were big enough to turn into our insurance on a claim. So some of the things we're doing to make that at the forefront for our drivers is we implemented this bus safe driver award. So at the beginning of the school year, I met with Jackson Bogan through the Mitchell Agency, our insurance carrier, and I kind of pitched this to him, and he said it's a great idea. What can he do to help? And so he provided some funding to give out a Safe Driver Monthly Award to those drivers that meet the criteria, which are the qualifications for that are low collision rating. I'll explain how we determine what the low collision rating is. No excessive speeding, no accidents, and no community complaints from reckless driving of a bus driver to not deploying their stop arm at a stop sign or at a bus stop. So if they meet those criteria, at the end of every month, their name's put into a hat. And we give out 2 $50 monthly awards on a gift card. At the end of the semester, we're going to give out 4 $100 awards. And at the end of the school year, on top of those, anyone that maintained a safe driver rating for the whole school year will be in the hat for a $200 gift card. So the drivers appreciate that. Like I said, we've already had our winners for September and October. And these drivers they're great at what they do, and we didn't need to give them these awards for them to know that they are take their job seriously and are very good at what they do, but they certainly appreciate it. So we do think that has attributed to our low accidents so far this year. So this screen here, if you look at this, you kind of don't make a whole lot of sense of it, but if anyone's ever had, maybe for their kids like I have, the Safe Drive app, State Farm does it, a lot of other people do it, that kind of tracks your every move. I found out it actually did the opposite for me. It cost me more money and not less money because it just reiterated that my kids weren't very good at driving. But our geotab units that are on every one of our buses this does the same thing. So in the far left corner there, the collision risk, it's either rated at high, moderate, or low. So any of our drivers to get in this monthly award have to be in that low category. This last month, I think we had 65 drivers that were in the low category. And that category is based on the 4 criteria of speeding, acceleration, braking, and cornering. So it basically pumps out a rating, and then it determines whether or not they're in that high, moderate, or low risk. And again, just reiterates that most of our drivers are doing exactly what they should be doing. But if they're not, we can catch that, and I can show you on this next screen here kind of what that looks like. So if we get a report of a driver that's speeding, we can pull up at any time during any of their route for that day, for that month, and we can see a snapshot of what their route looks like. For this driver, between the times of 2:30 and 4:18, you can see on the right-hand side there where they went from. This is a driver that has a southwestern route and has a Klondike route. So they're kind of traveling on all sorts of roads from 231 to County Road 500 South. And if you look on that left-hand side, most of those criteria that give a snapshot of what that driver was doing are clear. But you see at the bottom down there, you see that triangle, red triangle there. You can look on the map there and see exactly when that happened and what they were doing. And I can't pull it up here, but looking at that, it was harsh acceleration. Nothing to worry about. He's probably got a stoplight on 231. He probably got stopped on every stoplight on 231, and he was ready to get to get his students on time. But we can look at that for any driver, any given day, and we can see exactly what their driving habits were. So it's been a great tool for us to help evaluate these drivers to make sure that they're as safe as they possibly can be and they're following all of the laws of the state. So, for that, Geotab has been a very helpful tool for us. And then the last initiative that we really felt, me and the operations managers met, and we said we really need to start an evaluation process similar to what the teachers get every year, right? So it's hard for us because 75% of our drivers I never see except at the beginning of the year or the end of the year. They don't park their buses at the transportation station, and we might see each other in passing if they're getting their bus worked on or they're in talking to the operations manager. So what we came up with was a bus driver evaluation. So to implement a practical and effective evaluation process that helps to identify drivers that need additional training in order to meet the guidelines and procedures set by the IDOE, as well as create a culture of accountability within the department. They get complacent. We're humans, right? I mean, so one day if they're running late, is it worth a 20-minute pre-trip? It's very important to do that 20-minute pre-trip every day for your morning and afternoon routes. So, like I said, we've got 140 drivers. We split those up. The operations managers took their north and south end drivers, and I took all the related service drivers. And no, we don't go out there and ride the bus with them. That'd be pretty time consuming. But what we do is we pull video. So all of our buses are equipped with at least 6 cameras on that bus, and we can see their every move on that bus. From the time they start that bus up at 6 o'clock in the morning, wherever it's parked at, we can see them start that bus up. We can see them do their air brake check, which is very important because there is no park on a school bus. It's all air brakes. So they got to pump those brakes about 50 times in a minute. They get a pretty good workout to do that, but it's important to do that because that's how you stop the bus. So if they're doing their air brake check, if they're checking their stop arms, making sure their hazard lights and their amber lights, everything's working, just like a pilot on a plane, before they get going, they've got a checklist that they have to do. We want them to do that, right? So same is true for a bus driver. You know, they're picking up 60 kids. They're driving, in some cases, 50 to 75 miles every trip. It's pretty important for them to make sure all of the processes are working before they get going on their route. So anyway, we've just started that process. We're evaluating all of those drivers, and then we've created a 10-question evaluation form that we will share with them when we're done, letting them know where they scored at in those categories. And if any of those categories they need improvement or it was unsatisfactory, we will bring those drivers in. We will explain to them what it was that they did wrong, and then we will evaluate them again in the spring to make sure that they've corrected that bad habit that they've been doing. Hopefully they will. Hopefully they will fix that, and we won't have to have another difficult conversation at the end of the year. But at the end of the day, we want drivers to be professionals, and this is just part of the job, is making sure that they are following all of the rules that are needed to make sure that we're getting our students to school safely. So with that, we're going to continue to monitor the initiatives, make adjustments where needed, and continue to look for qualified CDL drivers and bus aid candidates, because from day to day, we've got drivers that retire when they hit a certain age, or for one reason or another it's not a good fit for them. And as we're growing, I think it's highly important for us to make sure that if we're transporting these students and we want to get them to school safely and on time, that we have a good pool of drivers that are at the ready. So like I said, those 8 sitting subs are a great asset to have to make sure that happens. Any questions? Yeah. We have, I would say, there's only about 5 drivers that only have 1 route. The rest of our drivers, depending on which schools they're transporting students to, they could have 2, they could have 3 routes. There's quite a few that have 3. For instance, Greg Deere's a driver that we have on the east side of town. He has a very short East Tip only, not East Tip Hershey, East Tip only route, and then he goes down to Wyandotte, and then he goes down to Woodland. So he's got a second, a third, and a fourth tier route, but they are 15, 20 minutes long each, and he's able to do so. So the vast majority of our drivers, though, they've either got a first and a fourth tier, a second and a fourth tier, or a third and a fourth tier route. So. Yeah, nine times out of 10, most of our sitting subs are driving something, whether it's one route, covering some middays for a driver that has a doctor's appointment. Again, we're in the business where people get sick and call off. It's certainly less than what it has been in the past, but yeah, those drivers are being used on a daily basis for something. I'm not. I'm not. I'm in the process of getting it, Mr. Burton. Yeah. I've actually got a driver that he's a DOE driver, and he says, we're going to get it together this summer. So that's the goal.
That was a very good report. We appreciate the detail of it. Do you guys have any questions? You've been sitting here listening the whole time?
You guys ride the bus?
Hey, do you know what ASM training is? So he mentioned that, right? So Tag is in your guys' class, and I tell Tag and Hayes when they're at home doing homework and they're hating homework and hating the fact they got tests, that as you get older, you keep having tests.
Yeah.
That's a continuing education class. So so as their drivers are learning every year and keeping up with their stuff, that school never really stops. You got that to look forward to.
You got something to look forward to next year, right?
Thank you.
Yep.
Much
Absolutely.
appreciated.
Thank you.